Standing at only 6'1", Isiah Thomas dominated like few guards ever have. With his scoring ability, ball handling, and legendary will to win, he gave the Detroit Pistons bad boys their rough and tumble identity on their way to back-to-back NBA championships.
Isiah Thomas.
Oh, what a pass! Oh, that's the pass of the year.
I knew he was going to be special. I did. He's one of the most special basketball players we've had in this league, and one of the most unselfish, because he could have scored 30 points a game, but you know what? He understood that he couldn't continue to just chuck shots up because he wasn't producing wins. And all of a sudden, he allowed his teammates to play a heavy hand in what they did offensively. He tuned up his defense. They came up with a mindset of how they were going to beat teams, how they were going to get past the Boston Celtics in general, and they did it. And they did it by just playing physical basketball and him facilitating more than just shooting. And it was an amazing turnaround of unselfishness by a player that we've seen in the history of this game. And it led to him beating teams that other players couldn't beat, quite honestly. I mean, Isiah not only beat Boston, he beat the Bulls consistently, he beat Philadelphia. He's had success against all those top teams at that point in time in the Eastern Conference, and it culminated into 2 NBA championships.
Feels like heaven.
Isiah was a guy just like, to me, I put him up there like one of the best guards in history because I had to play against him when they were the world champions, the bad boys, when they were beating people up on the court, physical. His tenacity at his size, his leadership, his not backing down. You know, my favorite memory of him is scoring all those points. I think it's 23 points in the quarter on one ankle against the Lakers.
I don't believe what I'm seeing.
He is just showing so much heart and determination.
Maybe one of the best we've ever seen in one quarter in finals history.
Like, in the finals, like, come on, like, that's legendary. That's you know, that's what makes guys like that Hall of Fame legends and people like, you know, myself that grew up, you know, look up to and want to emulate as a basketball player.
So I played with the great Isiah Thomas, and I knew it. I still know it, you know.
All the way up. Go! That is literally carrying a team on his back.
First time I met him was in '79, and we were playing in the Pan Am games. And Isiah and I were roommates, and Coach Knight was coaching the team. Isiah was going to Indiana, so Isiah was just it was June, and Isiah had just graduated from high school and was going to go to Indiana the following year. And I was at the University of Minnesota, and I'd be in my room and I'd be trying to sleep, and Zeke would say, "Ken, I can't sleep." I'd be like, "I know you can't sleep. You're waking me up. I'm exhausted," because Coach Knight is killing us with practice. And just we're having 2.5 hour twice a day. Just wow. I mean, we were really practicing hard. I just want to go to sleep. And he's like, "Coach Knight yells a lot." I go, "Yeah, he does yell a lot." He goes, "I'm nervous about coming here next year." I go, "You know, Isiah, I'm going to Minnesota and I'm going to go, so that's your issue. Quit waking me up."
3 trips to the finals, 2 championships, 1 finals MVP. Beat Kareem? Check. Beat Magic? Check. Beat Jordan? Check. Beat Bird? Check. Isiah Thomas.
You know, Isiah was not the first great small guard, but he was the first great small guard to be the best player on a championship team. And he was a dominant defender as well. And I think sometimes we lose sight of how good he was on that side of the ball because of just how brilliant he was with the ball in his hands. And, you know, from the moment he stepped foot on that court in the Pontiac Dome back in the day, he set the NBA on fire. You know, you really had not seen someone that you were in awe of with how he could play the game of basketball. It just seemed so natural. He was so instinctive. And as he got a little older, you saw how mentally tough he was because he played in arguably the most physical era in the history of our league. And he kind of personified that with those bad boys Pistons.
Well, explain to us the style and the flair, because the accolades seem to overshadow that now. We take it for granted, between the legs dribble. I mean, he was the guy that really popularized that.
Yeah, he was a jazz musician for me because jazz was all about him being impromptu and spontaneous. And that's the way he played the game. You know, oftentimes, and Zeke would tell me, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I know the defense couldn't know. And, he had the complete package. That guy would go in amongst the trees and could finish with the best of them. He had the mid-range. He was terrific in the pick and roll. And he just had a fire that burned within that you don't often get to see. And I'm just so happy that we got to see it all finish with him winning a couple world championships. And you talked about it. He beat the best of the best. And that was not easy to do for a 6'1" point guard.
Improvisation. When I asked him, hey, that bounce pass alley-oop, did you practice that? He's like, never did it before I got into the NBA. Unbelievable talent.
Growing up from Chicago, I always had him in my game after Isiah Thomas, and always looked up to him, his charisma, how he played, how fearless he was, the confidence he went out there and played with, throughout his whole basketball career, high school, college, and the NBA. And, giving his team confidence to go out there and play and to beat anybody.